Peter Hultqvist. He has been Minister of Defense since 2014. Before that, he was a member of the Swedish Parliament from 2006 to 2014 and represent the Social Democratic Party, Socialdemokraterna. He's former chair of the Parliamentary Committee of Defense Members and group leader of the Parliamentary Committee of the Constitution. He worked as a journalist for several years prior to enter Swedish politics. Please, Minister Hultqvist, come up to the podium. The floor is yours.
Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the invitation. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today. The defense cooperation between Sweden and Norway have a long and fruitful history. The daily exchange between Swedish and Norwegian units is extensive, not least up north. But our cooperation has had its challenges in the past, and there is, of course, room for further development. I am therefore happy that we last November could agree on a number of concrete areas where our cooperation could develop. We had a meeting here in Oslo, me and my State Secretary and Ine and her State Secretary, and I think it was very concrete and very fruitful to create some sort of platform for the future. But I will come back to that question later. Over time, the European security environment has deteriorated. The Russian aggression against Ukraine and the illegal annexation of Crimea are breaches against international law and have direct negative effect on the security situation in Europe. The challenges to the European security order are many and keep on piling up. The cohesion within the European Union is challenged by the lack of common response to the migration situation, by the disparate view on Russia and on the wave of nationalist right-wing populism. Brexit has caused insecurity and ambiguity, and more people than before question European cooperation as such. It's still today early to have a clear view on how the election of Donald Trump will affect the transatlantic cooperation. However, I want to stress that the transatlantic cooperation is fundamental for European as well as American security and will be so in the foreseeable future. I think that is very important. I'm not on Twitter. In Europe's southern and southeastern neighborhood, we can see countries and institutions torn by violence and internal conflicts. Non-state actors defy established states, borders, and institutions. Terror organizations like Daesh, Boko Haram, and Al-Shabaab pose a great threat to international peace and security. But I want to take some time to elaborate on the military situation in the Baltic Sea region. In 2008, Russia began a comprehensive military reform aiming at strengthening the availability, mobility, and operational capacity of its armed forces. The reform has proceeded regardless of economic hardships. The Swedish Defense Research Agency recently published a report that shows how Russia is restructuring, rearming, modernizing, and exercising for a more large-scale and advanced type of warfare. We have over time seen an increase in Russian military exercises in our vicinity, and we have lately observed new elements in their exercises. We have also seen how civilian parts of the society have been included and that they have conducted more and more SNAP exercises. It's important to see the change in content and complexity of the exercises and not only assess the numbers of them. In the plan for the Western military districts are fulfilled, Russia will in coming years increase their ability to to deny other countries access to the Baltic Sea in all dimensions, by land, by sea, by air, and in the cyber domain. Through the illegal annexation of Crimea, the aggression in eastern Ukraine, and the involvement in Syria, Russia has shown not only an increased military capacity, but also a will to use military means in order to achieve political goals. Although an armed attack directly at Sweden is unlikely, the Russian behavior in the Baltic Sea and elsewhere has increased the risk for crisis and incidents involving military means, and we cannot rule out armed attacks in the future. This is why Sweden has decided on a new orientation for our defense and security policy. After years of cuts in defense spending and focus on international operations, Parliament decided in June 2015 to substantially increase defense spending and to refocus the armed forces towards national defense. During the period 2016-2020, our number one priority is to increase the operational capability of our armed forces. That means a heavy focus on larger and more complex exercises, as well as investments in important weapons such as the next generation of JAS Gripen jet fighter, 2 new submarines, and new mortars and other weapon systems. We are established a battle group on Gotland due to the Iceland's strategical position in the Baltic Sea area. We are reforming our personnel system in order to give the armed forces long-term stability for its operations. Well-equipped and well-trained personnel are of utmost importance for building military capability. Since the abolishment of the conscription in 2009, the armed forces have had problems recruiting personnel to fill its ranks. At the moment, we lack around 800 active soldiers and over 6,000 reservists. In order to stabilize the personnel situation, the Swedish government commissioned an inquiry in the end of 2015 to look into how a modernized conscription could complete the volunteer recruitment. Its directive pointed out the Norwegian and Danish systems for inspiration. The inquiry presented its report in September last year and has been under referral for consideration until a couple of weeks ago. We are now preparing a decision before the end of this quarter to reactivate the conscription. For the moment, we are planning for 4,000 conscripts to begin their basic military training in September next year. The reactivation of the conscription will not only stabilize the personnel situation in the armed forces, it will also send out a clear signal that we are prepared to do what it takes to secure our sovereignty. In spite of our renewed focus on national defense, we will still take our responsibility for international peace and security. We contribute with 250 troops to MINUSMA in Mali. We are increasing our presence in Iraq and have a decision in Parliament to increase our contribution from 35 troops to 70, and will, of course, honor a long-term commitment to Afghanistan. The other pillar of the new defense policy is to deepen and strengthen defense cooperation with other countries and organizations in the region. Sweden will remain a military non-allied country. It is a security doctrine that is distinct, well-known, and well-respected. It's from this position of military non-alignment Sweden is deepening its defense cooperation with others. The Nordic cooperation is central in this strategy. Our countries face similar security challenges, and we share many security interests and positions. Ours is an important geostrategic region and the Nordic defense cooperation, as well as the cooperation with the Baltic states, contributes to a peaceful development, and it raises the threshold for military conflicts and incident in our region in the long term. I'm glad that the Nordic cooperation has taken important steps the last couple of years with the establishment of secure communication between our capitals, the signing of the easy access memorandum of understanding, and the development of the Arctic Challenge exercise into a Nordic flag exercise as some of the important developments. Our cooperation with Finland is the most far-reaching we have. It involves all branches as well as a close cooperation between our ministries. We have begun operative planning for common response to scenarios beyond peacetime. For our countries to act jointly, national decisions are needed in each case, but the common planning gives us the option of joint action. Like I said before, I am glad that I and my State Secretary could meet with our Norwegian counterparts in the end of last year in order to develop the cooperation between our countries. We agreed to reinstate defense attachés in each other's capitals. We are going to exchange information on total defense. We need to build up that organization now in Sweden. And we are going to deepen our dialogue on security issues. We also continue with exercises in the air, on the sea, and on land. And I'm looking forward to host Ine and her State Secretary later this spring to have new discussions about how to develop the cooperation between Norway and Sweden. Beside the Nordic countries, we have during the last couple of years deepened our cooperation with the Baltic states, United States, United Kingdom, and Poland. This year, I hope to further develop our cooperation with Germany, and I meet with the German Minister for Defense, and I met with the German Minister for Defense in Berlin last autumn, and we will meet again in Stockholm this summer. And I hope we also can sign an agreement at that time. European unity is fundamental in facing the challenges ahead of us. And I think it's very, very important to keep up with the sanctions towards Russia. And that's because of that they have broken the international law, annexation of Crimea, and the aggression against Ukraine. We also welcome the decisions in Warsaw to increase NATO's military presence in our region. Our partnership with the alliance is of great importance for us, and we welcome the opportunity to, together with Finland, discuss our security challenges with the allies on a regular basis. As I think most of you know, Sweden is a member of UN Security Council during 2017 and 18. Sweden has always been a great friend of United Nations, and we will use our seat at the table to raise issues on new security issues, gender equality, and more effective peace operations. To uphold a rule-based multilateral world order is in Sweden's national interest, and the United Nations is the bedrock of such an order. All these corporations send out a signal that we want to take our share of responsibility for stability and security in the Baltic Sea area, sea region, and beyond. We are building a security network around Sweden that increases the stability and raises the threshold for conflict in our entire region. To finish where I started, we are living in a world with increasing insecurities and where institutions and relationships we considered stable now are under increasing pressure. We all have a responsibility to, on basis on our different security choices, do our very most to ensure peace, security, and stability. Sweden is willing to take our part in that important work. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Minister Hultqvist, for giving us a deeper understanding of how you are considering and thinking on the security developments in Stockholm.